had to bring out the flag for this one. Yo guys, what's up? My name is Judge Prime, the ITK, here again with another video. End of the year, so I said, you know what, as your most straightforward and consistent Nigerian music reviewer on YouTube, I thought, you know, let's look back at the albums of this year, and I'll be picking my best projects, albums, mixtapes and EPs from Nigeria on this list. I think this year has been a superb year for music. I think, at least in my personal opinion, this year has shown us new talent. We've seen like the dying out or the fading away of, you know, more traditional or the bigger Nigerian acts. Some of them dropping very lackluster projects, others just, you know, facing various problems in releasing their albums, and some have been very fortunate the past year. But I think overall, we've seen very fresh talent, very fresh and different music, and I really like that, and I hope it continues, because now we're seeing a more diversity in our music, and I think this is like a resurgence, like kind of what we had within that 2008 to 2010 period, where we had artists like D'banj and P Square and Wizkid and all of them just coming out, and MI of course coming out during that period and giving us some great music. So let's look at my top 10 favorite Nigerian projects of the past year. If you're interested in watching my full review, I'll leave them linked in the description box below. You can see all the reviews for all the projects listed here, as well as links to, you know, Spotify and Apple Music if you choose to look at these albums. So and projects. So at number 10 we have Savemilli with Don't Ask Me What Happened. Now Savemilli is an artist that maybe a few of you are familiar with. He used to be under the Chocolate City label. He came out with an EP, a 7-track EP titled Don't Ask Me What Happened. I was a bit quick to dismiss this project because, like I said in my review, and I still hold this view, it sounded heavily influenced by Travis Scott, and I just didn't feel like it wasn't very unique in my opinion. Nevertheless, this is a project, there are a few tracks that I've been listening to over the course of the past year. It has amazing replay value, tracks like Jealous and Animals in the Dark and Made for This. And it's also rebellious. There's great storytelling. I think that Savemilli definitely does well in terms of his delivery. He's able to come off with this Americanized flow that a lot of Nigerian artists you see attempt to do but struggle with. At number 9 we have Aramide's Suitcase album. This is an album I reviewed recently. Like I said in my review, this is an enjoyable album. It does have elements that are very unique. I still think that she tried to, you know, get a bit of everything on there, but I liked the sound. I like Aramide's sound. I like her style. This was a nice and cohesive album in terms of the sonics, in terms of the storytelling, and it's also a great album just in general. I particularly like Fumilowo, the original version, not the remix, and I think she's a good artist. She's an amazing singer. At number 8 we have Moelogo with Ireti. Ireti, I think it means hope in Yoruba, and definitely you feel a lot of emotion and honesty from Moelogo on this EP, and that's one of the things I like about Moelogo. You feel a sense of honesty, you feel a sense of a real, authentic and genuine person that is delivered in his music. This EP has a number of tracks that I do enjoy, such as the title track Ireti, My City, which is just an homage to his city, and my personal favorite of this EP, Penkele, which samples the song Penkele by King Sunny Ade. I think that was a great homage to King Sunny Ade, and I think it's a great song just in general. Moelogo, like I said, he's an amazingly talented artist, and I think he's able to blend, you know, R&B with afro-pop or afro beats in a very good way that's able to cross over but still remain that, you know, still maintain that authentic Nigerian sound and flavor. I'm not mad when artists try to cross over or cross that bridge to appeal to a more Western audience. I just start to get problems with that when they start losing the essence of what it is to be having Nigerian music, or what the essence of Nigerian music, that kind of Nigerian sound and that Nigerian vibe. At number 7, we have New Era by Kiss Daniel. I'd say this is probably the best afro-pop album that was released in Nigeria the past year. I think Kiss Daniel did a superb job on this. He had a number of hits on here, you know, tracks like Mama and Jumbo. Gobe is another favorite of mine, and I think this is a good project. It did have a few filler tracks here. It did have moments where it was lacking, but I think overall he was able to keep it cohesive. He was able to keep it at a moderate length, and he was able to carve a niche for himself. He didn't come out sounding like the next Wizkid or the next Davido. He was able to come out with a distinctive sound and a distinctive style. I think this album did very well, and you know, I've gone back to listen to tracks here and there, and it is a good album. I'm excited to see what he does going forward. At number 6, we have Eva Alordiah with her debut album. I know it's been long overdue, 1960. Now, Eva, I think, is an amazing lyricist, an amazing rapper, and a rapper who I think this year did much better, in my personal opinion, in terms of really rapping, telling you a story on an album, than a lot of these self-proclaimed rappers or people that say they're the best rappers out of Nigeria or in Africa. I think Eva gave us an album that was cohesive, gave us an album that told a story, and gave us an album that was balanced. You had a bit of singing here, you had a bit of rapping there. The production was very nice, very charismatic and very gripping. Great production from Tintins and Gray Jones. And you know, even the lead singles off here were, even though they were bangers, but she was able to rap. I don't have many problems with this. Again, she did suffer from a few, you know, weak bars here and there. There were tracks that were a bit, you know, sketchy, but overall this is a good project. It's a good debut, and one of the best, or probably the best, my favorite hip-hop album coming out of Nigeria. She certainly did a lot better than her male contemporaries, and I don't know, it's a bit of a cock tease, because we're facing a situation now where we don't know if Eva might continue with music, and that's another problem I might have had with this album, because it felt like she was losing that kind of inspiration with the music. But 1960 is definitely an album for you to check out. At number 5, we have M.I. Abaga with Illegal Music 3. Illegal Music series is a very important series in my life. Illegal Music, the original one, was one of the first mixtapes I really got and sat down and listened to and learned every lyric. And I think this was a good closer. I think this is the best way to close the series. You have an MI starting in the beginning as being this rookie trying to prove a point, and you have him at the end now sort of maintaining this kind of, you know, like an elderly person saying, you know, here's the torch, continue the work I started, at the same time maintaining that I'm still the OG in here. I think it's a good mixtape, and I also think that this is perhaps the best illegal music. I also think that the production was greatly improved, and of course his delivery improved. I wish he had pushed tracks like Everything I've Seen. I think that maybe he had problems with the sample, I don't know, but that seemed like a very, very loaded track, one of the best hip-hop tracks to come out of Nigeria, and I think he should have pushed that track a bit more. At number 4, we have Bez with Gbagyi Child. Now, Bez, at this point in my opinion, is another Nigerian music legend. A couple of legends on here. I think MI would certainly be a legend at this point in his career. And Bez is also a legend in his career. Someone who has, you know, paved the way for alternative music in Nigeria. And this album came out, I think, about 3 weeks ago. And he came in with, you know, the late 3-pointer in the last, you know, 5 seconds, and it was one of the best albums I've listened to this year. A lot of people come out with the rhetoric of, you know, taking Nigeria to the world or taking their city to the world, and don't really give you a sense or a story or a sound from their city. And I think that was what Bez was able to do here. He was able to give you storytelling, an atmosphere, and an environment that really translated to the naming of this album, Gbagyi Child, because of course he is a Gbagyi Child. So I think this is a great album. I think this is a cohesive album. I think the production on here is phenomenal. I think Cobhams did a phenomenal job on here, and you know, the storytelling, the lyrics, the progression, everything was done in just a masterful way. My personal favorite on this album, I think, is Home to Gbagyi. Just a great track and a great album. I definitely recommend this album to you. At number 3 we have Brymo with Klitoris. Brymo, another OG in terms of Nigerian music and alternative music, coming again with another album that was quite eclectic, that was quite, you know, mysterious, but also, you know, was able to keep your attention throughout the span of this album. You had tracks on here like Alaja Shomolu, which was, you know, had that charismatic fella raw vibe, and you had tracks like on here like Koshayami, which was very majestic. Overall, I think this album is just a great example of how great Nigerian music can be if we really lay emphasis to some of the talent we have. I think this album can stand anywhere in the world as being one of the best albums from 2016. Great production, great singing, everything just came together in a very cohesive and nice manner, and it wasn't too long. I think going into 2017, artists need to learn how to quality control, because you see artists come out with 21 or 22 track albums, and a lot of these tracks feel unnecessary. Moving on, we have at number 2 Adekunle Gold's Gold album. You know, I had to put this on the list. This was easily top 3 my favorite album in general of the past year. Adekunle Gold again really pulled through in terms of creating a niche for himself in Nigerian music, you know, coining his own genre, urban high life. An album that it's an album that takes you to a different place, let me use that. And the production on here, great. Some of the best singing I've heard from a Nigerian artist. Lovely backing vocals from Simi. I think Simi's involvement in this album cannot be overemphasized, especially on a track like No Forget, which probably one of my favorite tracks of 2016. You felt the raw emotion, you felt the honesty, you felt a kind of closeness and a kind of understanding to Adekunle Gold. I think this is an album that has great replay value and is going to last quite a while in terms of Nigerian music. Now, before we get to our number 1 position, and I'm sure a lot of people would know who my number 1 pick would be, let's just have a couple of honorable mentions. Spotlight by Reekado Banks. I think this is another good album. Didn't quite make my top 10 Nigerian albums, but definitely a good album nonetheless. You have a lot of great production on here. You have Reekado really showing that he's not just, you know, this new signee that is just in the backing, you know, for photo ops. He really has talent and he really knows how to structure a song. You also have Playmaker by Phyno, which I would have loved to have understood more if I did have a competent understanding of the Igbo language, but I did review it nonetheless. And finally, in number 1 position, we have an album which I'm sure you would already know was going to be my number 1 if you've paid attention or have been watching this channel for a while now, and that would be Lindsey Abudei's And the Bass is Queen. I don't know how much more praise I can give this album. I think I praise this album on almost a daily basis. I think this is one of my favorite albums of all time. An album that is deeply emotional, an album that is deeply inspirational, an album that has great storytelling, an album that has a great atmosphere, an album that has great production, an album that has great singing, an album that is just overall great, and I don't know what more to say about this album. But honestly, and I'm being very honest here, this easily is my favorite album of 2016, not just in terms of Nigerian music, but in terms of music, and you know, we've had a wide variety of music this year. But Lindsey Abudei did a phenomenal job, and so did Atta in terms of the production, and Nosa as well. And I don't know, if you want to see me praise this album more, You can check out my review of this album. Again, I'll leave a link in the description, or you can even check out my interview with Lindsey Abudei. I had the pleasure of having an interview with her. Looking forward to 2017. I guess we're going to have albums from Simi. Really looking forward to her solo project. Didn't really care much for Chemistry. Mr. Easy as well has been doing an amazing job in terms of the singles. Ata as well. We have Wizkid and Davido. Hopefully, I'm not holding my breath for them, but hopefully they do come through. We'll probably have a Moelogo album maybe next year. I don't know, but I'm looking forward to 2017. Hopefully 2017 is as varied and as, you know, enjoyable as 2016 was. Certainly there were lots of great albums. But yeah, that's all from me, the Gbagyi Prime. I think I've talked way too long on my top albums from Nigeria, or my top projects from Nigeria. If you'd like to see more, please be sure to subscribe and check out some of my other videos. Check out my podcast. I've done interviews with some of these artists, from Lindsey, Abudei to Adekunle Gold and Simi. Also, if you're interested in the headies, check out my predictions. I don't know if I'll put it here or here, but yeah, you can check out my predictions for headies 2016. It's a shame that they didn't nominate Lindsey Abudei, but hey. So that's all from me. In terms of this, in terms of Nigerian music, I'll probably be reviewing Lafia G. You know, I'll put that maybe, if it's good, in my 2017 list. Also, Aramide's album coming soon. I don't know if that's coming out this year or next year, but yeah, a lot of things to look forward to. In case I don't review Nigerian music this year, I'd like to wish you all a happy new year. I'll see you in 2017. My name is the Gbagyi Prime. Hope you have a blessed day, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.